1 2 what it is. This your boy Brian Dawson. Listen, I want you to watch my girl Lady J. She my favorite. Lady J's montage right here. Check it out.
Jay Jenkins, you're sick for this one, baby. Hey, come on. Lady J's montage is a show to watch for the mom and the children and the pops, giving life to the community. In the community, there'll be more unity. Sit back, relax, take a look. Give me 28 minutes and you'll be hooked. Lady J's montage. Lady J, what? Lady J, what? Lady J, huh? Lady J, what? Hey, hey, hey. Lady J's montage is a show to watch for your mom and the children and the pops, giving life to the community. In the community, there'll be more unity. Sit back, relax, take a look. Give me 28 minutes and you'll be hooked. Lady J's montage. Lady J, let's go. What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Lady J. Today, we're going to learn something new and very important from Miss Valerie McMillan. She is an interpreter.
Great.
I am very excited to have you here because you're going to teach everybody something new. Tell us about interpreting. Give us a definition and why is it important?
Okay. Well, interpreting is just what it is. It's your interpretation. It's basically, you're taking one language and you're using another language to actually interpret what that means for another group of individuals that use that second language to be able to understand what is being given in the primary language.
Okay.
But there are things that people can interpret all the time, and I may interpret it differently than you, right?
Right.
Just even reading information, you interpret it differently. But you don't know what the reader's or the messenger's intent is unless you ask them.
Exactly.
To get the accurate interpretation. But for the most part, it is an interpretation, but as long as you don't go left, you're not going sideways with it, then it's your interpretation if you have it. But why it's important to me is because it is my first language. ASL is my first language, which is American Sign Language.
Okay.
I am considered an OH, which is only hearing child of deaf adults. Both parents are deaf, and 3 of my brothers are deaf. So I'm the only hearing person in my immediate family. And then we have 5 generations of deafness, all the way from my grandmother all the way to great nephew and nieces that are deaf.
Okay. All right. So there's a personal touch in there as well.
Absolutely. Just growing up as a child, just being a language broker, trying to make sure that my parents are understanding what is being said from hearing people, and hearing people, making sure that they understand what is being said from my parents. So as a child, as a young child, I'm always been the one to make sure that access to communication is equal on both ends.
Oh, that's wonderful. So you are the link to make things happen. And so what kind of education did it take for you to accomplish getting your certification and your degrees and things like that?
Now, back in the day, I don't think that interpreting was looked at as a profession. So individuals such as myself, I would say people that are probably at least 10 years older than I am, could have gone and went straight to national certification without even having to go get a degree. By the time I came up and about, degrees were emphasized, that you need to have your degree in this field. And I'm glad I did, because now, been in the profession for 10 years after the fact, the National Certification Board said you must have a 4-year degree in order to sit for the national exam. So I'm glad I did. But I do have my bachelor's degree from Barton College, which is Deaf Ed, Education Interpreting with a concentration in Deaf Ed. And then I recently, in 2020, I received my master's degree from St. Catherine University out of Minnesota.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That was in the middle of COVID, and so I didn't get to really have my real graduation, but that's all. Nevertheless, I got my degree, and that's in Master of Arts in Interpreting. Master of Arts in Interpreting Studies and Communication Equity. Okay. And so I'm able to use that degree. It has more of a social justice feel, and so I love talking about equality, inclusion, and things like that. And so having those two things, you don't have to have your master's, but you definitely do have to have your 4-year degree in order to sit for your national certification. And I have my national certification, which is the NAD, National Association for the Deaf, and I have level 4, which is considered advanced. Now, I took that years ago when I was fresh out of college. Now, I hope that if I was to ever take it again, that I would get the master level, which is the highest for that one. But there's also RID, which is Registry of Interpreters for the Deaf. That really houses all of it. And so I never went back to go get my certification, because a higher certification or anything different than what I already have, because it's enough. I don't want to say it's enough, but it is enough. I can go anywhere in any state and have that and be fine.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And so I also, North Carolina has their licensure. We're a licensure state, licensing state. So I have my North Carolina full licensure here.
Oh, wow.
And you have to have that. That supersedes national certification.
And what are some places, if you were looking for a job, that you would be beneficial for?
Anywhere that you and I go.
Such as television.
You know, you go to the doctor's office, you go to the courtroom, you go meet an attorney, you go to Department of Social Services. Anywhere that you will go, you can find a deaf person there. And you best believe that it would be beneficial to have an interpreter always readily available.
Oh, wow.
Concerts, you know, any kind of open public forum that anybody can come to, which is, you know, I'm grateful that a lot of places don't even wait for deaf people to say, hey, I'm coming, I need access. They already provide it, because they know that this is a public event, anybody can show up. And so let me just have one readily available, and that way we don't have to worry about somebody asking for the services, because we're already there. We already have it.
Well, I've seen you in so many different places. You were at North Carolina A&T College's graduation, interpreting for Morris Chestnut.
Good morning, everybody. But talent only gets you in the door. It's going to be your character that keeps you in the room and gets you invited back. Your character.
But Morris Chestnut, I mean, when he did his thing, and any other individuals that A&T has ever had, they've just been great. And it's just great to be able to, like I said, be able to bridge that gap for those that are in the audience, to be able to understand, just like everybody else understand what is going on stage.
What was that like, being in that environment? You're at the Delta Sigma Theta Convention, Incorporated Convention.
Keep going! Keep going! I bet you can't do each one!
When I'm at Delta Sigma Theta, to be there at our national convention, even our regional conventions, even the events that we have throughout the year, that our deaf and hard of hearing sorors, they get to join in. They get to enjoy just like everybody else. The music. You know, people think that, oh, deaf people don't enjoy music. That's a tale. Now, you do have some deaf people who don't like music, just like you have some hearing people who don't like music, right? So it's equal. But don't assume just because people don't have hearing or they have a hearing loss that they won't enjoy it, because they enjoy it just as much as anybody else, because we give it to them in the form that they understand it. And so that we try to make sure that it's an even playing field when it comes to words that are being said, that are verbally said, and what is coming off our hands and our body.
Okay.
Because people also think that just because, oh, you know, sign language, oh, you can be an interpreter, but it's so much more than just that. It's body language, it's facial expressions, all that incorporates the meaning of what is just being said.
Just tell me, what is the feel?
It's hard to describe the feeling. I mean, when I'm interpreting, I am not me.
Okay.
Right? So I am a representation of the field, not necessarily Valerie McMillan. I do represent myself because at the end of the day, they see me. But I do represent other professional interpreters. So when I'm up there, I'm not me. And so I don't allow that to take me to that fame. It's all about me. It's really all about making sure that the audience, the people that's in the audience, get access to communication, and not just access, but it's equal access. And so that's where I am when I'm doing it. Now, after the fact, I'm like, oh my God, but during even before, you're like, oh my God, so-and-so is going to be there to bridge that gap for those that are in the audience to be able to understand, just like everybody else understand what is going on stage.
So we know that everybody makes mistakes, okay? And you're very much looked at and viewed when you're in the forefront.
Yes.
So can you tell me about a time that you possibly made a mistake, and how did you correct that mistake that you made?
All right, I am human, just like you are human, and a lot of things that I do tell other interpreters or aspiring interpreters when they're up and coming in the field is that make sure you always ask for clarification, right? So sometimes you might, what I mentioned earlier about my interpretation is your interpretation, unless I get straight from you exactly what your intent is, right? So if I don't get your intent, I didn't get the information from you, I'm going to interpret the best way I know how. And then if I see myself going in the wrong direction, I'm going to let it be known. I'm going to ask the hearing person to hold on for a second, especially if I catch it, and to be able to rectify it with the deaf person. My apologies. I would say something so that the hearing person knows what's happening. I don't want to leave them in the dark. So I would say, oh, I misunderstood. Let me, I said da-da-da-da, so let me make sure that, but you do mean da-da-da-da, right? And they say, so then I'll get that corrected. In that way, they know that I corrected what I thought was what the intent was. Now I got what your true intent is, and both parties know that I made that clarification.
Okay. So clarification, communication, all those good things. Because we can have different perspectives of something, but the clarification will make everything run smoothly.
Well, yeah, that's just like you and I. If you and I are having a conversation, right? Sometimes people can get into a deep conversation, right? Leave and go, I wonder if they meant. Because I took it this way, but maybe. Well, let me call them up and see, right? Or even you got upset about something because you thought my intent was
the tone or something like that. Could
even
change
reading,
the whole something.
written communication. I hate written communication because people can read into what they think you mean, and then you are upset about something that is not even true.
That's right.
Right.
That's
so
right.
It's always good to always check in. But in situations where it's a difficult situation where there might be a likelihood of I'm just going to say a more serious case where I don't want to use life or death, but let's just say life or death situation. You always going to have another extra pair of eyes to make sure that you're not misunderstanding.
Assumption. That's right. That's right.
And a great interpreter will always ask for clarification, right?
Yeah.
And a good interpreter will always admit when they were wrong.
And you're getting something out to someone else, and you want to make sure that clarity, that's just the bottom line for everything on that.
Right, because I don't know, right?
And that's professional.
Right, because I don't know what the repercussions can be if I told them one thing and they were supposed to do
something else. Okay, so tell me about an HBCU experience or connection.
Well, we mentioned North Carolina A&T State University. They are one of the universities in North Carolina that I know of that do provide sign language interpreters, whether it's asked or not. So they are already on the ready.
That's great.
Right, they're already on the ready.
Aggies.
Go Aggies, exactly. They're already ready. And I've heard of other HBCUs doing the same, but I don't know if they are getting requests specifically or if they're just having an interpreter available just in case.
Okay.
But long story short, the one thing that I pride about that, but I wish I went to a HBCU, but I was not afforded that opportunity, not because of money, not because of distance. It was because there is no HBCU nowhere that offers interpreting as a major.
Oh, wow.
Nowhere.
Okay, out there, check it out. She's a great reference.
So,
let's get it going.
Exactly. So I would love to see, because that's also, I think, that was part of my research as well in my master's program, is that you have this field, this profession, right? So you have X amount of people, right? But then you have about this much, even 5%, 10% of the population of interpreters are people of color.
Okay.
That's not a whole lot.
No, it's not.
And so then you start thinking, why is that so? Now I can talk about some other factors, but one of the factors is, well, if I had parents that went to a HBCU, and I grew up going to their homecomings and going to their games, or I had older siblings that went to a HBCU, guess where I want to go?
That's where you want to go.
I want to go to a HBCU as well. Well, I'm not going to look at interpreting as a profession because nobody has it. That's one. Two, I think the lack of representation.
Okay.
A lot of times our young black and brown kids or young adults don't see this as a profession because they don't see any representation.
Exactly. They don't know anything about it to be. See, that's another thing that you could be out there explaining that and helping and speaking to people about it to make the awareness come alive.
Exactly. So, you know, black deaf people, indigenous deaf people, Hispanic deaf people, they want representation too, just like, you know, your LGBTQIA community want their representation. You know, you have, you know, Christians, you know, different groups of individuals, they want their representation. They do too. And so that is one of the things that I'm fighting for and looking into. I, you know, thought about, you know, Winston-Salem State University because they already have a program that is a master's program for vocational rehabilitation.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So they have a deaf track.
Oh.
And so I thought, well, if they have a deaf track, I was taught in my master's program, you want to tackle individuals that already have something. You don't want to create something brand new that it becomes foreign. And I'm like, what is
Just
that?
building on
Right.
what's there.
You building on what's already there. If you already have students who want to learn sign language, guess what? If you add that track of interpreting,
That's an added plus.
that's an
a
added
bonus.
plus, right? And you're the only HBCU that does it, right? That's an even added bonus. I know A&T, I believe someone, one of the girls that I mentored and taught in a public school setting, well actually it was one-on-one, but she was in public school, you know, in high school. Now she goes to A&T and she says, we have a club, a sign language club. I said, but you have a sign language club, but you don't have classes? She said, well, we kind of teach each other within the group. Who's teaching you? You know, so there's interest there. And I just got a call yesterday about a high school looking for a sign language teacher because they offered it last year, and I'm assuming that for whatever reason that teacher is not coming back. They got 60 kids.
So the interest is there.
The interest is there, and it's in a predominantly black area. It's in a rural area.
Do you think you'd be able to advise them on anything?
I'm going to call them Monday. I mean, I just got the call yesterday, but the interest is there, and I don't want to lose that momentum when you see kids that are like, oh, I want to do that. I want to be like her. I want to do that, you know. And even with, you know, the football game. What is the football thing called? Super Bowl. Even having the Super Bowl and showing deaf people, that young black girl that was signing the music and everybody just, you know, she took off with it. You don't see it. It's a rarity.
I don't think people realize how much needed it is.
Yes.
Those communities need help. They need support.
Yes.
They need the education. They need the knowledge.
Yes.
You know.
And you know, and just like, you know, with churches, you know, if I can add that in there, I'm very proud, you know, to attend the church that I attend. You know, I'm assuming before I got there, they may not have gotten any interest. But when my mom started going there, and then some of her friends started coming there, and then so and so and so, and you know, they tell this person, tell that, you know, it's that phone tree thing that keeps going on. Oh, that church offers it. Well, technically, we offered it, but we didn't offer it, you know. But I was there. I was already, what is it? I'm a vessel. I was there, right? So we offered that as a service. And when I said, look, deaf people got souls too. Now he never said I'm not offering. He never did that. But just to add that little piece to him, he was just like, you're absolutely right.
Well, I don't think people really think about that. You know, it's always the ones that can see or the ones that can hear. They don't look at that.
Right.
And it's not intentional.
No, I don't think it's intentional. But I think once you bring it to the forefront and you start telling people that, like, hey, you should provide this. Could you imagine how many doors will open if you allow more individuals from various populations to attend your church or attend your service or attend your function? You know, And so I have a very strong heart for the deaf community, making sure that they have access to all that we are afforded to have access
That's
to.
right.
Because
That's
I think that, at the end of the day, we're all human. We all bleed the same color blood, and we should always have the same access to everything.
That's the equality and diversity.
Yes,
That's a plus. This has been a very inspirational, motivational, educational moment with interpreting. Communication is so important. But I don't want to leave without learning something and doing something with you.
Okay.
So tell me how I can say thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching. So, thank you
Thank you
for watching
for watching
the show.
the show. Lady J's Montage. Hope you learned something. Call on Valerie McMillan. She's the best.
Hello, my name is Valerie McMillan. Name sign is V on the cheek. I am a nationally certified sign language interpreter. I realize that there are not many people who recognize this field as a profession, and so I think one of the reasons that it doesn't get the recognition that it deserves is because people don't realize that there's a big need out there for interpreters. I remember growing up, I didn't see any black interpreters. And so one of the things that stuck in my mind is that when I was interpreting for the governor, when COVID first, the impact of COVID, and the governor was doing their briefings every day, and you saw the interpreters in the little box. And so I was one of the interpreters they used during the time of the briefings, and I was the only black interpreter. And someone said, do you realize how many black and brown kids are watching the news and they see you on the screen, that little bubble, and they go, mommy and daddy, look, there's a black interpreter there. And the impact that you can make on those kids' lives, to go, I can do that one day. Just recently, maybe about a month or two ago, I was in a store looking for clothing, and because of interpreting as a profession, we have to wear solid clothing, especially the top. And so it has to be contrasting to your skin tone as well. And so I was looking, and the store associate was recommending certain things, and I was like, I can't wear that because of the reasons of what I just mentioned. And so when they said, well, what do you do? And I said, well, I'm a sign language interpreter. And they went, you're that interpreter that interpreted for the governor? And I was like, yes. She was like, I remember you. I thought that was you. So again, you just never know the impact that you make on people's lives just by what you do. And so I love what I do. I do a lot of mentoring. I do a lot of tutoring. I do a lot of teaching. I'm going to go back to doing virtual teaching, signing classes. So if you're interested, you want any resources, please feel free to contact me. I'll be happy to link you up with other things that I know within the state of North Carolina and other states if you're out of state. Thank you.
I'm going to pass my EOGs that you can't deny. I'm going to pass my EOGs because I'm going to make a 5.